Neil Armstrong stepped onto the moon, becoming a legend, but his family life hid tragedies, breakups, and secret battles that could eclipse his cosmic feats. Behind the facade of a humble hero lay personal dramas: the loss of a child, a divorce after 38 years of marriage, and even a courtroom scandal surrounding his death. These facts, full of intrigue and contradictions, reveal the human side of a space icon. Tragic death of daughter Karen, catalyst for space career. Neil Armstrong and his first wife, Janet Shearon's daughter, Karen Armstrong, was born on April 13, 1959, in Lancaster, California. Affectionately called Muffy, she was adored by her father, who spent hours playing with her. But on June 4, 1961, at age 2, Karen fell from a slide in the park, leading to nosebleeds and a diagnosis of a malignant brainstem tumor. Diffuse intrinsic pontine glioma, DIPG. Treatment involved experimental radiation therapy causing loss of balance. She relearned to crawl and walk over 6 weeks of outpatient care. Despite consultations with top doctors, including family relative Dr. Jack Hoffman, the tumor was inoperable. Karen died on January 28, 1962, from pneumonia, complicating her treatment, exactly on her parents' 6th wedding anniversary. Her death devastated Armstrong. He rarely spoke of her publicly, and many colleagues didn't even know she existed. Neil's sister, June, later noted, "This loss pushed him toward something positive, like the Apollo program." Armstrong applied to NASA's astronaut corps just months after the tragedy, which biographers believe was a way to cope with grief. What if Karen's death truly altered the course of space history? Without it, would Armstrong have been the first on the moon? Divorce with Janet Shearon, where after 38 years, the price of fame? Neil Armstrong met Janet Elizabeth Shearon at Purdue University, where she studied home economics and he pursued aeronautical engineering. They married on January 28, 1956, in the Congregational Church in Wilmette, Illinois. Janet supported her husband through his career, from test flights at NACA to the astronaut program. The couple had 3 children, but Janet suffered a miscarriage in mid-1956. After the Apollo 11 moon mission in 1969, Armstrong's fame overwhelmed the family. Endless interviews, a world tour, including 22 countries in 45 days, and public pressure. Janet later recalled in an interview, "I was a homemaker and he was a hero. It pulled us apart." The marriage strained. Armstrong became withdrawn, spending hours alone, while Janet felt overshadowed. They separated in 1990 and divorced in 1994 after 38 years. Janet moved to Utah, living in Deer Valley and St. George, actively involved in the community. She died on June 21, 2018, at age 84 from lung cancer. Biographers note the divorce was amicable but controversial. Armstrong shunned publicity, while Janet is portrayed as a victim of his career in the film First Man, 2018. Was lunar fame worth a shattered marriage? Or was it the inevitable cost of heroism? Second wife, Carol held Knight. Love after tragedy. After the divorce, Armstrong met Carol held Knight in 1992 at a golf tournament. She was a widow whose first husband, Ralph Knight, died in a 1989 plane crash. Friends Paul and Sally Christensen set them up on a blind date over breakfast. Carol, born in 1945 to Victor Held and Rosario Cota, had 2 children from her first marriage, Molly and Andrew. Armstrong and Carol married on June 12, 1994, in Ohio, and their union lasted 18 years until Neil's death in 2012. They lived in Indian Hill, Ohio, where Armstrong enjoyed a quiet life. "Carol gave me a second life," he reportedly told friends. Carol stayed out of the spotlight, but after his death, helped publish the children's book Neil Armstrong's Story, with illustrations by Graham Baker Smith, and participated in memorials. Notably, Carol received no share in the scandalous settlement after Neil's death, see below, sparking family disputes. How did a blind date become a pillar for a legend? Or was it just luck after losses? Son Rick, from dolphin trainer to rock musician. Eric Allen Rick Armstrong was born on June 30, 1957, in Lancaster, California. As a child, he loved parks, carousels, and swimming. At 12, he skipped a baseball game to watch the Apollo 11 launch from Cape Canaveral. He graduated from Wittenberg University in 1979 with a bachelor's in biology and worked as a trainer for marine mammals, dolphins, and whales. In 1988, he switched to IT, co-founding a software startup in Ohio with brother Mark, working there until 1994. Now a freelance developer and database consultant, he's on the board of the Astronaut Scholarship Foundation. In 2011, he joined the prog rock band Edison's Children as guitarist, bassist, and keyboardist, releasing albums. He also issued solo instrumental works. Rick was married to Mary, divorced but has 3 children, Neil's grandchildren. He consulted on the film First Man, and with Mark in 2018, auctioned 3,000 of his father's artifacts for $16.7 million, including a teddy bear and school report card. Rick lives quietly in Ohio, avoiding fame. Dad taught us humility. Son Mark, physicist turned IT mogul and legacy keeper. Mark Stephen Armstrong was born on April 8, 1963, in Houston, Texas, 18 months after his sister's death. At 6, he watched his father's moon landing. He grew up among astronaut families, playing in pools and at barbecues. At 8, the family moved to a farm in Ohio, where Mark and Rick helped with chores. He graduated from Stanford in 1986 with a bachelor's in physics, focusing on computers. Career highlights: Vice President of Engineering at Pharos Technologies, roles at Symantec, Web TV Networks, Microsoft, and Scenario Learning. Now a consultant, he's on the boards of the Museum of Flight and an aerospace company. Married to lawyer Wendy, they have 3 children, Neil's grandchildren, 1 son appearing in a cameo in First Man. Mark wrote the ballad Flight of Fancy about his father's lunar journey, performed by his daughter. After Neil's 2012 death, Mark, Wendy, and Rick investigated a medical error leading to a secret settlement. In 2018, he organized artifact auctions, donating portions to museums and creating a charitable fund. Mark lives in Ohio, emphasizing, "Dad was humble, we follow his example." Scandal surrounding Neil Armstrong's death, the secret $6 million deal. Neil Armstrong died on August 25, 2012, just 2 weeks after heart bypass surgery in Cincinnati. Publicly, his family urged Americans to look at the moon and give him a wink. Privately, sons Rick and Mark accused the hospital of negligence. Nurses had removed pacemaker wires too early, causing fatal bleeding. Even the hospital's own expert confirmed errors. To avoid a trial, Mercy Health quietly paid a $6 million settlement in 2014. Rick and Mark received about $2.4 million each, his brother and sister $250,000, and 6 grandchildren $24,000 apiece. Widow Carol refused any payment, which reportedly caused family tension. The secret deal stayed buried until 2019, when the New York Times exposed it, revealing that the moon's calmest voice had left behind a storm of lawyers and silence. Grandchildren: 10 keepers of lunar legacy. Neil Armstrong had 10 grandchildren from sons Rick, 3 children, and Mark, 3, with the total of 10 suggesting more or including step-grandchildren. No names. Piper Van Wagenen delivered a eulogy at the August 31, 2012 memorial at Camargo Club, Cincinnati. Kaylee Armstrong traveled in 2016 on the research vessel RV Neil Armstrong from San Francisco to Charleston, and Bertha G. Helmick, involved in settlement proceedings, vividly describing stakes for the hospital. Grandchildren received $24,000 each from the $6 million settlement. One of Mark's sons appeared as a guitarist in First Man. Mark's daughter performed his ballad. In 2015, sons and grandchildren unveiled an astronaut monument in Iceland. They lead quiet lives, shunning publicity, but honoring their grandfather. Piper said, "Grandpa taught us humility and curiosity." Their paths, from music to science, echo Armstrong's legacy, but details remain private, underscoring family discretion. Artifact auctions: $16.7 million and legacy debates. In 2018, Rick and Mark Armstrong auctioned about 3,000 of their father's belongings through heritage auctions, earning $16.7 million by mid-2019. Items included a lunar-flown U.S. flag sold for $175,000, childhood keepsakes, and medals. Critics accused them of selling history, but Rick replied, "We're sharing Dad's legacy, not hiding it in a basement." Armstrong's fame had drawn odd scandals before. In 2005, his barber secretly sold strands of his hair for $3,000 until Armstrong forced the money to go to charity. A 1983 rumor claimed he heard the Muslim call to prayer on the moon and converted to Islam. Confusion fueled by his hometown, Lebanon, Ohio, mistaken for the Middle Eastern Lebanon. He personally denied it, reaffirming his Christian faith. And by 1994, he had stopped giving autographs altogether after learning they were being resold for thousands of dollars.